Starting off with the introduction to the project. So this project involves creating and designing a basic CGPA calculator. The main purpose of this assignment is for students to calculate their CGPA, and they are able to keep track of their academic progress. So the main parts of the program includes input semester details, which users will have to input their number of subjects, subjects points, and also credit hours for the specific courses they are entering to the system. And then next is CGPA operations. Users are able to calculate their GPA and CGPA after they input the information that I mentioned before. And apart from that, users can also display grading scale and formulas, which are also used to calculate GPA and CGPA within the system. Last but not least is the input validation. So this program ensures it meets users' requirements such as correct data types, valid credit hours, and correct range validation.
The first objective for this coding assignment is to develop a CGPA calculator that has a simple academic performance tracking, which calculates the GPA and CGPA automatically. The second objective is to develop a calculator that provides an accurate result of the user's GPA and CGPA. The third objective is to develop a calculator that has a user-friendly interface with clear console prompts, error messages, and clear outputs of the result to improve the user's experience. The fourth objective is to develop a system where users can see the grading scale. The last objective is to develop a system to display the formula of the CGPA and GPA calculation to ensure validity of the result.
With the code demonstration, so when you first run the program, this is the welcome page that it will display. So let's press, and then this is the menu. So you can choose either you want to calculate GPA, calculate CGPA, display grading scale, display formula, or you want to exit the application. So let's start with the first one, shall we? Okay, so it'll show you if you want to input your GPA using letter grade or grade point. So let's say I want to use grade point first. Let's say I want to use letter grade first. And if I want to view the grading scale? Yes. So this way I can see what is the grade point for a certain letter grade. So number of subjects, let's say I got 3 subjects for this semester. So credit hour of subject 1, let's say 3, and I got an A. The second subject is also 3 credit hours and another A. The last one, 4 credit hour with a B. Okay, and it'll show you the total credits and the total GPA for that specific semester. So let's see if we can enter the result using grade point. So I'll go to number 1, which is calculate GPA again, and it'll show you the same thing again. So I'm gonna go with number 2 this time around. So number of subjects 3. First one is 3 credit hours, and then 4.00, and another 3 credit hours with a 4.0, and another one is 4 credit hours and 3.00 grade point. And same thing, it'll show you the total credits and the GPA for that specific SAM that you entered. Now let's calculate our CGPA. So we'll go to number 2, and it'll show you the main menu again. So you go again to number 2, and the number of semesters, I have 3 semesters this year. So the first semester I got, let's say, a 3.8. Okay, and total credit hours was 20. For semester 2, I got, let's say I got 4 flat, and total credit hour was another 20. And let's say the third SAM, it was a 3.7, let's say, right? And I only have 10 credit hours, and it'll show you the total credit hours and your CGPA for the whole semester, for the whole year. Now, let's go back to the main menu, and we'll go for choice 3. Let's display the grading scale, because normally users would want to know what is the grade point for a certain letter grade. So let's go for number 3. Then it'll only show you this, the grading scale, and whether or not you pass if you get a certain grade. And For this one, you only have two choices, which is going back to the main menu or exiting the app. So let's go back to number 1 and let's display the formula. So this is what it will display. It will show you the GPA formula and the CGPA formula. So you will know how the system actually calculates your result, that if you pick number 1 and 2, this is how it will calculate. This is the formula that the system is using. So let's go back again to main menu and let's exit the application. And it'll just show another prompt just to ensure that you click the right thing and you did not just accidentally click you want to exit the app. So let's say yes, I want to exit the app. There it is. That's it. Let's move on to the next section of the presentation.
Moving on to the code explanation, we'll start out first with functions. So in total, we have 14 functions in our code, including the main function. Firstly, the main function calls the intro function just to display a simple welcome message to the user. The main function then calls the menu function, which is to display the main menu with 5 options, which are to calculate GPA, calculate CGPA, display grading scale, display formula, and to exit the application. The next function is the clear screen function. It is to clear the screen once the user presses a key. If the user inputs number 1 as the choice from the menu, then they will be redirected to calculate GPA function. This function asks the user to choose between entering letter grade, which are the grades A+ until F, or to enter grade point, which are 0 to 4. And if they input number 1, they will be redirected to letter grade GPA function, and if they input number 2, then they will be redirected to grade point GPA. And if they input neither, then an error message will pop up and wait for a valid input. After the function that runs based on the user's choice has finished, a menu will show up asking the user to input a number to choose between calculating GPA again, or going back to the menu, or exiting the app. Then, based on their choice, it will redirect them to corresponding functions. Next is letter grade GPA function. This function displays the grading scale if requested via the grade scale in calc GPA function. Then it asks for the user to input the number of subjects. And then it asks for the corresponding credit hours and also the letter grades open to each subject. And then the program converts letter grades to grade points using the convert grade to point function. And then it calculates the GPA. So basically, the user can input letter grades such as A or B minus, C, D, or even F for each subject, and then the program calculates the GPA for the user. Next is the grade scale in calculate GPA function. This function is to ask the user if they want to see the grading scale before inputting grades. This is grade point GPA function. This function is similar to letter grade GPA function, but instead of inputting letter grades, the user enters grade points directly. Next is the convert grade to point function. This function is a float, and it has the parameter of master string &grade. This function is called from the letter grade GPA function, where it passes an array grade into this function through the parameter &grade. So basically, this function converts letter grades to numerical grade points. It loops until a valid grade is entered using the while loop here. It ensures valid grade, input, and error messages for invalid entries. Next is calc CGPA function. This function is to calculate the CGPA. It first displays the CGPA calculator banner, and then it asks the user to input the number of semesters. The number of semesters is then validated through the validate input function. And then the program asks the user to enter the GPA for each semester and also the credit hours for each semester. The program calculates the CGPA and displays it, and then it navigates the user back to the main menu or allow for recalculation based on the submenu and the user's choice. Display grade scale function is just a simple function to display a table with grades and their corresponding points as well as the pass or fail status. This is the display formula function. This function is also similar to the display grade scale function, where it just displays the formula for GPA and CGPA. This is the exit app function. This function is used to ask the user if they want to exit the application. If they enter Y, the program exits, and if they enter N, the user is redirected to the main menu. So it provides a clear way to exit the application for the user. Last but not least is the validate input function. This function is to validate user input to ensure it is a positive number and not a non-numeric value.
Now let's move to conditional statement of our program. We choose two conditional statements, which is if, else, if, and switch. Firstly, I will explain about if, else, if, which is it used in a while loop that runs without a fixed limit until valid grade is entered and the corresponding grade point is returned. The program checks the input grade against a set of valid grades like A plus and A solid and so on using a series of if, else, if statements. If the grade matches one of the valid option, the program returns the corresponding grade point, for example, pointer 4.00 for A plus and A solid, and after that, it will exit the loop. If the input does not match any valid grade, the program enters the else block where it displays an error message prompting the user to re-enter a valid grade. It then clears any error flags on the input stream, discards the invalid input, and waits for new grade to be entered. This process ensures that the program only accepts valid grades and handles invalid input properly. Next is switch statement that handle different user choices based on the value of the variable choice. Each case represents a specific option that the user can select. For example, if choice is 1, the program clears the screen, calls the function calculation GPA, and then stops further execution of the switch block with break. Similarly, for choice values 2, 3, 4, and 5, but it performs different action. If the choice does not match any of the predefined cases, the default block runs, displaying a message to inform the user that the input is invalid.
This set of code is showing an example of looping. The loop that's used is an infinite while loop which is set to true, which if the user enters a valid input, it will run the function letter grade GPA or grade point GPA, and it will break the loop, stopping the loop completely. If the user does not input one of these choices, it will continue the loop until the input is either 1 or 2.
Next is control statement. This break control statement happens within a switch block to control the program's flow by preventing it from executing code in subsequent cases after match is found. Each case block ends with a break statement which tells the program to exit the switch statement once the corresponding block of code has been executed. The break statements are critical in this code as they maintain the program's logic by ensuring only the code for the matching case runs, and the switch block exits immediately afterward. The second control statement is the return input that uses at the end to provide the final value of the input variable after it has passed all the conditions. Initially, the program uses a while loop with a conditional statement to check if the user's input is invalid, like no numeric or number less than or equal to 0. If the input is invalid, it displays an error message asking for a positive number, clear the error flags, discard the invalid input, and prompts the user again. Once a valid, positive number is entered, the while loop ends, and the return statement is executed. The return input ensures that the valid input value is sent back to the calling part of the program for further use. This ensures that the program only proceeds with the correct and valid input value, making the return statement critical for providing the final validated result.
An array is a way to store multiple pieces of data of the same type in a single collection. In the image, 3 arrays are used to store information of the students, which are their credit hour, grades, and their grade points. The variable num subjects indicate which number of subjects it's currently, which it increments as the program continues.
In conclusion, developing CGPA calculation in C++ program offers several practical benefits. This project allows us to implement the fundamental programming concept in real world, and it also enhance our problem-solving skill. There are several skills that we need to study and understand before we develop the project, such as define the data types, choose control structure, and what needs to be done in functions to make sure the project runs seamlessly and user-friendly.